To use Pimcore redirects, we would need to go here to Tools and to Redirects. To add a new one, we can click here on Add. Also, you can see that you have two options, an expert mode and a beginner mode. For now, we're just going to use the beginner mode. Here you can define the type, where you can enter the full URL from which you want to redirect. You can add the path and the query. You can add only the path and choose auto create. In this case, we're going to choose path. And if you remember here, we made en finding by test page. So we're going to copy that path to that page. Go back to Pimcore, put the source as this page. And let's say that we want to redirect to our home page. Then just type in / and click save. Additional options that we now have is setting the source site. So if you have configured multiple sites within your Pimcore installation, you would have the option to pick the site from which you wanted to redirect. An example would be if you have test.test.com, you can choose that site. It would be here, and you wanted to redirect it to test2.test.com, so a subdomain. Then you would pick the target site as the other site and type in the correct path that you want it to lead to. Click on update. Another option that we have here is to change the status of the redirect. As you can see, you have multiple choices here. It depends highly on the use case. In the next column, we have the option of picking the redirect priority. I highly recommend you read about this in the Pimcore documentation, because depending on the way that you created your URL, if it was a static route that you added through Pimcore, or it's a route that was created by you creating a document, or is it a URL that you're using directly in Symfony that you made, then the priority basically comes in. Let's go back to Pimcore. You can also write regex within the URLs to match a certain URL. So if you're familiar with regex, you can use the regular expressions. There's an example within the Pimcore documentation for this. Let's go back. You can pass through the parameters. So for example, if you had some kind of parameters within the source, you can pass into the target. You can activate and deactivate a certain redirect. By default, they're activated. And you can also enter an expiry date for the particular redirect. A use case for a redirect, I would say, would be if you had an old site and let's say you converted it and made it inside Pimcore. Some of your old URLs, for example, for products, would not match the new URLs. And let's say you had one old product that you wanted to redirect to the page of your new one, so that old links for the product still work. You would add a redirect here so that it leads to the new URL of the same product. So let's save this and let's go back to our page. And now you're going to notice that the page is not redirecting to the home page. And the reason for that is the priority. Since this URL that we just visited is actually made through the documents, we would need to change the priority here to 99 override all because of the route processing. So let's change it to 99 and update it. Let's try to go back on this page and refresh, and as you can see, it led us back to the home page. Now let's try one more thing. If we go back to Pimcore, I already said that we have the optional field of adding an expiry date. Here, if we click and choose a date in the past and update it, we are now going to be able to go back to our page. Let's go back to Pimcore, and now let's say that you added a couple of routes that can get expired. We can click here if you wanted to perhaps delete all of the expired redirects since they are not used anymore. Another useful tool that we have here is to export all of the redirects into a CSV file. It comes in very useful when you're testing or adding routes locally. You can export them from your machine and then go on the server and import all of the redirects that you that you added. Hope the video helped you. And if you want to learn more about Pimcore, you can check out my Udemy course called Learning Pimcore from Zero to Hero, where I will show you all of the steps from creating a project, buying and setting up a server, as well as deploying your project. Hope to see you there.